Okay, so welcome to this people pleasing workshop. So, behind the smile, the hidden toll of people pleasing. So, people pleasing is it's actually a really fun topic to discuss. And people pleasing impacts so many people. I was reading a statistic that said 52% of women, 44% of men are impacted and would identify or refer to themselves as a people pleaser. And I think that's an alarming statistic. And I know for me, I was a people pleaser all my life. And I would call myself that. So just further solidifying, yes, I'm a people pleaser because that's all I knew. Um, but people pleasing actually isn't honorable and doesn't necessarily mean that you're nice, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing something out of the goodness of your heart. So that's why we're going to really dive into this because people pleasing is impacting your ability to go to your next level. It's impacting your ability to be true to yourself and live a life that's in alignment. And when your life isn't in alignment, meaning your thoughts are not congruent with your behaviors, there's a disconnect there. And the subconscious mind and the conscious mind are in conflict and it holds you back. So, this is what we're going to dive into today and ways that you can, number one, recognize your patterns, where you're doing it. Then we're going to dive into the beliefs behind it, why you're doing it, and different ways that you can begin to break the pattern, if not bypass beginning and just break the pattern. So we're going to dive right in. Um, I did send a worksheet over through email. If you don't have it with you right now, does not matter. You can get it in the um, email that's already gone out. It'll also come over to you with the replay. So if you don't have it here, we're just going to go over it. It is no big deal if you don't have it. You've got everything you need. Um, so I thank everybody for being here. It's going to be fun. So the very first thing on the worksheet is to spot your pattern. So when is it? And I think it's helpful to pick a specific example. You could probably even find one in the last week where you did something that you really didn't want to do. You said yes when you meant no. You offered up your services when maybe you weren't even asked to do something. You went above and beyond and inconvenienced yourself to help somebody else when it wasn't really all that important. Um, Recognizing this and spotting the pattern is the very first thing because when you have an awareness of what you're doing, or if you have an awareness that the problem exists, that's the very first step to changing it, to changing anything. A big piece of the work that I do is begins with awareness, developing an awareness of where you are now, what you're doing, what you're thinking, all of that. But with regard to people pleasing, having an awareness that you're doing it is huge and recognizing that it's a problem. It's great to be kind. It's great to be nice when it comes from the goodness of your heart and it feels right. And that there's a different feeling around it. And that's the awareness I want you to start to develop here today. Recognize, so spot the pattern and develop an awareness of when does it feel like I'm saying yes, but it doesn't feel right inside. Big place I used to do it was at work. If somebody asked me to make a switch in the schedule, work for them on a day, and I'd come off my day, work their day, and I would say yes. And then I would inconvenience myself. It didn't work for my schedule, but I was helping somebody else make their schedule work for them. So they knew to take care of themselves. They weren't afraid to ask for the help. And what would have made sense is for me to say, let me check my schedule. Oof. Oh, I'd love to help you, but it doesn't work. Um, but so there's a small gap in between making a decision. So when somebody asks you to do something, or that split second where you're going to offer up your services, there's a little window, and it can be ever so small to recognize this isn't going to work for me. Nope, I can feel it. So part of that awareness is really tuning into yourself. So you're spotting the pattern. Spot it. When are you doing this? And this takes practice. So start noticing when you're saying yes, when you mean no, when you're inconveniencing yourself. When this is actually a good one, because I didn't even realize I did this until I really started studying myself. And study yourself. This is the most important thing you will ever do. When I really started to study myself, I noticed that a form of people pleasing that I was doing was doing things for people that they didn't even ask me to do. So it was like a self-imposed burnout, or a self-imposed activity that didn't even work for my schedule. They weren't asking me to do it, but I felt like, wow, let me do X, Y, and Z. That'll help. And once I recognized that, it was really a game changer. So you can be a great person, you can be helpful, you can be supportive, and not burn yourself out, not disrespect yourself, not dishonor yourself, and not chip away at your own self-esteem, your own alignment, your own peace. So that's the very first thing on the worksheet. Spot the pattern, become aware of it. For the intent, or all intents of the actual worksheet, think of an example when you did that recently, when you were people pleasing. Um, and then from there, it's recognizing the cost. What is the toll that people pleasing is taking on you, both physically and emotionally? Because there is a toll. There is a massive toll, and over time, it worsens. So, an emotional toll and a physical toll. So, emotional tolls, examples of that would be feeling stressed because A, you didn't have the time, you didn't want to do what you were doing, you didn't have the energy, stress, anxiety, burnout, sleep disorders, all these things are chipping away at you because you're overextending yourself. And by you, I mean we, or I, because I did it for so long. Um, And then there's the physical toll. So fatigue, because now you're not sleeping well. Now you're stressed. Headaches, anxiety, just it's the toll that, and over time, this sort of behavior then gets linked to chronic health conditions. So it really isn't just a simple thing about I was trying to be nice. It really is an erosion of self. It's an erosion at honoring yourself and your needs. So, what I want you to start recognizing as we're going through this is all about coming back to yourself, coming back inside, knowing that you already have all the answers. You have all the answers. And knowing that when you shut out the outside noise and answer only to yourself, everybody wins. So it's not selfish. It isn't mean. It isn't disrespectful. When you are self honoring, it's actually building your confidence. It's setting boundaries. It's creating a whole different life for yourself. And it's all taking place on the inside, because that's where everything takes place. So your thoughts are creating your reality. And all these little things you do every day add up to the big things. So it's why I do this workshop every month and tackle a different topic, because there's so many facets of personal development, um, and so many facets behind the work I do. So I just enjoy bringing a different topic every month to just dive in and just kind of go a little deeper with it. But my overall umbrella is success redefined. So redefining what is your definition of success. And people pleasing is something that can hold you back from actually achieving your personal definition of success. So that's why I chose this as a topic. It's just a little behind the scenes. Okay. So the cost, we've talked about awareness. We've talked about, spotting the pattern, the cost check-in, physical and emotional tolls of people pleasing. But this is where it gets fun. So what's the belief behind people pleasing? What is actually causing us to do this? What causes us to say yes when we didn't really want to do something, or didn't want to go somewhere, or we didn't really have the time? It's all conditioning. It's all about the subconscious mind, all those patterns and beliefs that are embedded in there. And they were starting to be, those beliefs were created from the time we were in the womb till this current day. It's our family, it's our workplace, it's our friends, it's society. The list goes on and on and on. But nevertheless, you have the patterns in your subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is the driver behind 95% of our behavior. So we could say affirmations all day long, but if deep down we don't believe it and we're not emotionally involved with it in any way, the subconscious mind takes over. That's where the decisions are coming from. That's where the behaviors are coming from. That's where the people pleasing is coming from. So that's what makes it so hard to stop, or so you think, because it really isn't. It's not terribly hard to stop. You can actually change a belief in an instant if you really want to. So the belief behind it, what belief or fear, there's often a fear associated with it, might be driving your choice to please others. And if you think about the exact example that you're using for this exercise, what's the fear behind it? Or what's the belief behind it? People won't like me. They won't ask me next time, because sometimes there's validation in being asked. It's just to be invited or just to be asked is validation from the outside world. And if they stop asking, does that mean they don't like me? So it's such an interesting phenomenon, or a thought process that's going on that we don't even realize is going on, but it is. The other thing that a lot of people experience is they feel like it's being selfish when they don't do for others, or if you say no, or you set a boundary, but it isn't. So when you really sit down, and when the workshop's over and you can sit with the worksheet, really personalize it. What is the belief behind it for you? So start to question your thoughts. So the next time somebody asks you to do something that you already know you didn't want to do, think about, they ask you to do something at your child's school. Ooh, that happened to me a lot. They ask you to make a switch at work. A friend asks you to go to a birthday party or something you don't really want to go to and you don't have time to go to. Stop and notice your thoughts. Just notice what it is that's got you there. What is it that you're afraid of? What is it that is driving your need to say yes? So this is important work right here. This may look just like a worksheet and it's fairly simple, but what really is important is when you sit down with the worksheet after the workshop and start to study yourself. Because what is the belief behind it? It's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. But when you start to really notice your thoughts, because don't forget, your thoughts are creating your reality every day. The thoughts are going on. And I can't even remember the amount of thoughts we have in a day. It's an outrageous, alarming number of thoughts that are going on throughout the day. So if you can imagine that, those thoughts are shaping your reality. They're shaping what you're attracting into your life. So it's so important to be the gatekeeper of your mind. What are you thinking about? What are you focusing on? What's driving your behaviors? What's driving your decisions? And when you start to make this a habit, this is also a game changer. There's a lot of game changers here. When you start to implement all of this in your everyday, you can change your life. I am definitely living proof of this because the beliefs and the people pleasing, and particularly around the workplace, was holding me back from my next level self. I knew I had a greater calling. So, for those of you who don't know me or don't know me well, I am a nurse practitioner and I worked at the hospital for probably 25 plus years. And anybody who works in the hospital knows it's changed a lot over the years. And it became a place where I didn't feel like I was making as big a difference as I could. Loved the job, loved the patients, didn't love all the paperwork, didn't love all the people weighing in on what I could and couldn't do with my patients. And I didn't like all the time constraints. So eventually, so I would continue to work, continue to show up, continue to pick up extra shifts and continue to do what was burning me out. And eventually, through all the personal development I've done, oh my gosh, um, I've invested a lot in myself through mentorship and coaches, and I wouldn't change a thing because it's changed my life. And eventually I left my career and opened up my own company, Sarmento Mentoring Services. But that was interesting because there was a part of me afraid to leave because I'm going to disappoint everybody I work with. I'm going to disappoint the patients. I'm going to disappoint the workplace, my peers, and they're not going to like me anymore. And all the stories that we tell ourselves, all the stories. But you know what? When you start to listen to yourself and you go through it, you come out on the other side and you realize the stories that we create in our minds is just there to protect us. It's our ego trying to keep us safe, trying to prevent change. And change requires doing things that are uncomfortable. Change requires change. It requires doing things differently. So I was afraid to leave. Of course, it's scary to leave my career after all those years, but a lot of the fear was about disappointing others. But in the end, I believed in myself. I knew I had a greater calling and I was going for it, and nothing and nobody was going to hold me back. And it was the best thing I ever did. Embraced the fear, did it anyway, came out on the other side. And now it seems like working at the hospital is such a distant memory. I just, I don't even know how I did it as long as I did. Anyway, now I'm doing something I love and I get to do what I was meant to do and what I love. So, anyway, the point behind that was the impact that our beliefs can have on us and how they can really hold us back from reaching our next level, from reaching our purpose, from reaching where we're meant to be. So, um, once you start to recognize the belief behind it, then you move on to the identity reframe. So if I were going right through the worksheet, if you believed your needs and voice mattered as much as anyone else's, how would you act differently? So this is one of my favorite topics to talk about because your identity, or I used it interchangeably with self-image. So your self-image creates your reality. Your self-image is like a thermostat. So you cannot outperform your self-image. So how you see yourself is going to be the limit of what you will create in your life. So you won't outperform it. There'll always be a hard stop on where you will um, shut the thermostat off. You'll always come back to that level. You probably won't go too much below it and maybe a little above it, but you'll always come back to the self-image. So you really have to recreate your identity, your self-image. How would the person with a rock solid self-image handle people pleasing? She wouldn't have the problem because she honors herself. And if somebody asks me to do something that doesn't necessarily work for me, and it's not in a mean way, and it's not in a confrontational way, but I have no problem either saying, I'm not sure, let me think about it, or let me check my schedule and get back to you. That's a gentle way of easing your way into fixing the problem of people pleasing. It's a very gentle way on yourself too, because it doesn't have to be uncomfortable. Um, Creating an identity of somebody who has um, the ability to put in place healthy boundaries and honor her own needs first may take some effort on your part because you've got to get crystal clear on all these steps. Spot your pattern. What's the cost that it's what is the cost of people pleasing on my life? What are the beliefs and thoughts that are going through my head that are creating this pattern or this need to people please? And then um, the identity reframe. So creating a new self-image of somebody who doesn't do that. Creating a new self-image is fun. It is the most, I think, some of the most important work you can ever do. It's part of studying yourself. And there's nothing more important than getting to know yourself and getting to know the thoughts, the things you're thinking and doing that are holding you back from your next level success. And remember, success is personal. What's a definition of success to me might not be a definition of success to you. Being a mom is my favorite role in the world. And to me, that's like rewarding. And when that's success to me, um, when I've set an example for my son, that was part of going for my big goals, my massive C-type goals is, gosh, I tell my son all the time to go for it. Am I doing that? Am I an example of that? So part of my self-image needed to change, that I do uncomfortable things, that I say no when I don't want to go somewhere, or I go all in even when it's uncomfortable. When I get the little twinges from my ego trying to hold me back to a place of comfort, I know that the magic is on the other side, because nothing magical happens in the comfort zone. Nothing magical happens in the comfort zone. It's on the other side. It's called the comfort zone for a reason, because it's comfortable. Nothing's changing. Everything's the same. There's no disruptions. Nothing's unexpected. Nothing's unpredictable. it's comfortable. And if you're not looking for more in your life and you're not looking to expand, or if you don't have goals, or then maybe that's where somebody's comfortable. But if you want more for your life, that's the person I'm speaking to. When you want more for your life, something has to change. It starts with an awareness, and it starts with studying yourself, studying your thoughts, your behaviors, how it all ties in. Um, it's really powerful work. So back to people pleasing, the self-image of somebody who does not people please is someone who practices self-love, honors herself, appropriate boundaries in place that are comfortable. She is confident enough to say no when she means no. She's confident enough to not feel selfish taking care of herself. So that identity is someone who's confident. She knows herself. Answers come from the inside. They don't come from the outside. The self-image of somebody who does not people please, she's not seeking external validation. So um she doesn't get her validation from accolades. She doesn't get it from the crowd cheering. She doesn't get it from doing extra things for other people, because it's already from the inside. So it's an inner knowing, it's a confidence, self-love, honoring oneself. So all of that combined, self-image work is key to all of this. It's powerful work. It's one of my favorite things to discuss. I know I already said that, but it's such fun, and it's life-changing. And then start thinking about, you can start small and make it fun, but what is one way this week that I will choose alignment over approval? So what is one thing that you can do this week? Well, it's already Thursday, so that'll support a healthy boundary and honor your own needs. So the opposite of people pleasing. So when you're in alignment, your thoughts are congruent with your behaviors. So they're on the same page. When you're thinking one thing and doing another, there's a disconnect and you're not in alignment. Things will not flow. Things won't feel comfortable. Things will feel forced. When you're living a life that's in alignment or authentic, life flows. It flows easier. It feels effortless. When you are not in alignment, thoughts don't match what you're doing things that don't match what you were thinking. Life feels hard. It doesn't feel peaceful. You don't feel present. And the word that keeps coming up to me is it feels forced. It doesn't feel authentic, and it doesn't feel like it's in flow. And I love to live life in flow. And when you start to really learn to listen to your inside voice, the days seem to flow because you get the answers as you go. And they're all coming from within. They're all coming from within. And I believe, for me, it's God, but there's a higher power that you're working with. And I always believe that faith in something bigger than me is so powerful, because I trust that everything is always working out for me. Everything is always happening for me, not to me. I'm always accountable for what's going on in my life, but I believe that there's a higher power and I'm very connected to it. And I just go through my days knowing that I'm taken care of. So I get all my answers from inside, and I trust the process that's happening. That is a lot of the work that I do as well, because um, I just feel always divinely guided. My words are divinely guided. Most of this, I'm going through the worksheet, but most of what I say is really unscripted, it's unplanned, and that's when you know you're in flow and things feel effortless. They feel fun, they feel aligned. My thoughts are in alignment with what I'm saying and doing. So take the worksheet after the call or when you have a quiet moment and really delve into it and have fun with it. And gosh, I could make fun of myself. Like, just, I was a people pleaser through and through. And I even like owned the title, and it was, it was definitely life changing to be able to feel like I have healthy boundaries in place and that I honor my needs. And the funny part is, it was all a story I'd created in my own mind, because if anything, I think I attract people to me just as well. The right people will be attracted to you. The wrong people will kind of fall off the grid. And that's just the way life goes. So when you really listen to your inner voice and you honor yourself, things just kind of flow. People will not think you're mean. People will not think that you are selfish. If they do, that's their own issue going on. It's not yours. So don't take responsibility for anything that anybody else is experiencing. You experience your own experience, and they'll have theirs. Everybody's on their own path of learning, and that's it. We're all learning as we go. So go through the worksheet and really try to study yourself. Go through each question or each point here and study yourself, and go through your days noticing, not with judgment. It's not about judging yourself or getting aggravated with yourself or frustrated. It's about beginning to notice your thoughts, notice your feelings, notice your emotions, notice your decision making. What was the thought behind that decision? Because I really wish I hadn't said, I wish I hadn't said I would go, because I don't want to go. What was the thought? What was I thinking? Um, and remember, a subtle way that you can start to change your decision making around areas of people pleasing is just simply saying, I'm not sure if that's going to work for me. Let me think about it and get back to you. And then you have a moment to study yourself. Gee, what's coming up for me? Why am I feeling the need to do X, Y, and Z, or whatever it is? Um, so probably the biggest takeaway here is people pleasing is impacting your life in a number of ways. It is a common problem. What did I say? 52% of women, 44% of men own the title of being a people pleaser, and that you can correct it. The first thing is being aware of it. That's the problem. Studying yourself and starting to change the thought process and change the decision making. People pleasing is impacting your ability to go to the next level. It just is. If you can identify yourself as a people pleaser, I guarantee it's holding you back from your next level self, because it's chipping away at your confidence. It's chipping away at your ability to put yourself first, which is something that needs to take place as you're moving forward to your next level. And it's chipping away at your health. It's chipping away at your emotional stability, and you can fix it. So fix probably wasn't the greatest word, because I don't think any of us are broken. We're not broken. We don't need fixing, but people pleasing is something that isn't self-honoring. And I always want you to honor yourself. So I welcome any feedback on this. Email me directly at contact@karensarmento.com. That's where you can reach me directly. My support team is at support at karensarmento.com. That's a great place if you're ever having trouble with a link or a replay or something technical. And then I do this workshop every month, a different topic. So I'll start working on next month's replay. I'm not replay, next month's topic, which I haven't decided. I'm tossing around a few things in my mind, but I welcome all of you back. You do have to re-register each time. So just, I didn't want you to think you're automatically registered for the next one. Each time I do a new one, I start promoting it and sending out an invitation or promoting it on social media, but it'll be something good. It'll be something that I feel called to talk about. And I hope to see you all there. And again, reach out to me anytime. Schedule a call. I'm happy to meet with anyone one-on-one who wants to discuss delving into this further. I do one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching, and also I do odds and ends along the way, some pop-up workshops too, but every month guaranteed the free workshop. So I hope to see you again, and thank you for your time. I value that very much, and I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have some great takeaways. And to anybody that's watching the replay, I hope you enjoy and reach out to me. And I could feel everybody's energy. So I'm really happy about it. And I hope to talk to everybody soon. Bye.